every decision I made along the way that first month was based upon, is this a real business? And in a real business, these are the things that I do. Again, like it helps funnel this big vision and this big dream into really digestible actions that you are thinking about day in and day out, because as an entrepreneur, you're stacking up. It's one day at a time.
Today, I'm joined by Christina Tosi, the trailblazing chef and entrepreneur who founded Milk Bar, turning her passion for rule-breaking desserts into a nationwide empire that's redefined the baking world and inspired countless young innovators to think outside the oven. Christina is also a best-selling cookbook author and business powerhouse who overcame early career hurdles to build one of the most exciting bakeries in the country. She's the ultimate role model for young entrepreneurs chasing their sweet dreams of success. Welcome to How I Started, the podcast where we share the real stories behind remarkable entrepreneurs and the companies they've built. I'm Connor Boyack, your host and president of the Children's Entrepreneur Market, where we help kids ages 5 to 17 launch their very first business. In each episode, we'll explore how great ideas grow into lasting success, what lessons shape those journeys, and how mentorship builds the next generation of entrepreneurs. Whether you're just starting out, scaling up, or looking to inspire others, you're in the right place. Let's explore the stories that prove every great venture begins with a single step. Christina, thanks for joining us on How I Started. Welcome.
Thanks, Connor.
I'm excited to chat with you here. And like with all of our guests, Christina, I want to take you back to your early days and begin by asking you, how did you get your start? What's an early memory you have of your early budding entrepreneurial ventures in your youth?
You know, my earliest memory, not baking cookies, but doing something with the cookies, if you will. My mom would, on the last day of school, pick me up and drive me. I went to grade school in Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., and she would drive me and my older sister to Ohio, to like the farmlands, the cornfields of Ohio, which is where she grew up, to her mother's house, or to my grandma's house. She still lived on a farm in Clinton County, Ohio. And my mom would leave us there for the whole summer. And we were sort of raised by our grandma for the summer. And one summer, my grandma said, you are going to enter into the county fair. You can enter in whatever you want to enter in. My country cousins were entering like competitions for livestock and I decided that I would enter in the cookie competition. I entered in, I think, an oatmeal cookie, maybe an apple pie, and a chocolate chip cookie. And I won first place for my chocolate chip cookie and a check for $1.64 that I still to this day have. I have not cashed it, even though my mom, who's an accountant, is very upset because when someone writes you a check and you don't cash it, you sort of screw up the balance of what they think they've paid. And when someone hasn't cashed that check, that becomes a thing. But that was the first time, Connor, that I realized I didn't enter into it to make money necessarily, but it was the first time that I realized a few things. One, not all chocolate chip cookies are the same, right? Like that they're depending on the decisions you make along the way in the proverbial recipe of what you're making, in this case, the literal recipe, right?
Right.
How many chocolate chips do I put in? How much vanilla do I put in? How long do I bake it? How big is the cookie? How small is the cookie? Do I want it to be fudgy in the center or crispy? That all of these little decisions that I was making was totaling up to sort of a rank of where my chocolate chip cookie placed for other people, and therefore its inherent value, right? Like, do you want to eat this again? That sort of thing. And I learned that piece of it. I think the other piece that I learned was that I had something, right? Like the validation that I might be good at something, not just enjoy eating cookie dough or making cookies for my friends or family, but that I might actually be good enough for a stranger to say, wow, that's the best chocolate chip cookie I had. And then I think sort of very quietly in myself, what I understood was I felt a little bit of a competitive fire in me, a sort of like ignite of, well, oh my gosh, what were the other chocolate chip cookies and what did they look like compared to mine? Or maybe the other things that I did enter in, the oatmeal cookie, the apple pie, right? Like, why didn't they play? You know, I got a little competitive. Well, what decisions did I make that didn't make them good enough to sort of rank, to win an award, to win some prize money, et cetera? And it really took me out of the space of liking to bake for fun or for the love of eating dessert, and really started to think about what a cookie looked like in terms outside of those like more pure, inherently joyful things, which are still very important to me to this day. But I thought about the power of baking in a way that was far more entrepreneurial than it was just a hobby or a skill.
Now, when a lot of people think of entrepreneurship, I think their mind gravitates towards innovation. Like you watch Shark Tank and, this new business idea or this new product category, or we've invented this, new contraption. You've been operating since your youth in a space where I'm just imagining like Mr. Wonderful, like it's a commodity, you're a cockroach, take it behind the barn and shoot or whatever, right? So like here you are, you built a successful business, right? Selling cookies and other things, attached to that. What was that like to you're not doing something like you're doing something better than other people. You made an amazing product, but what was that like to have to compete against, there's a billion chocolate chip cookies out there. Was that hard for you or was it not? What was that like?
I'll tell you, like fast forward from being 8 or 9 years old at the county fair to opening Milk Bar in New York City. We opened November 2008. My idea for a Milk Bar, I sort of said, I want to make cookies for the rest of my life. I want to professionalize myself in this space. So I know that in order to be an entrepreneur in this space, I really believed that I was going to need to be more than a good home baker. So I moved to New York City. I said, I want to be a professional in this space first. And so I went to culinary school to get the book smarts of what being a professional, person that makes dessert is. Baker, pastry chef. There's sort of a few different terminologies that you could apply to that you would go to culinary school for. And then the other thing I said to myself was, I want to work for the people. I want to learn how to do it day in and day out.
Yeah.
From the people that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. I want to work at the best possible pastry shops or bakeries or restaurants. And I want to make sure that what I learned in school and this passion that I have actually plays out in the field before I open my own thing. I had a dream always of opening my own thing, of having this shop and a bakery where I called the shots and did my own thing. But those were two really important stops for me along the way to really say, is this real for you? Is this true for you? Are you sharp enough? Do you have enough context? Also, because I thought I'd learn on the clock on someone else's dime. If you work for someone else in the same field, you were able to learn a lot of lessons under someone else's name, under their brand, under their reputation, on their dime, on their dollar. And that's part of the exchange when you work for someone. They would love for you to be a perfect employee or a perfect baker, and in this case, make every batch perfectly, but you are going to make mistakes. And that was really, really interesting to me. Also, because what I got from it beyond the validation of those things was I learned a lot of secrets. There are things that, I learned on someone else's time as well, where there's a lot of things that no matter how much school you go to and practical knowledge they give you in school or in sort of a work program, until you're really in that space in the day-to-day, there are tips and tricks and things that you aren't going to learn that you can learn working for other entrepreneurs. And it allows you to sort of like leapfrog some of those lessons so that you're not learning every single thing on your operating hours or working hours. But when I opened Milk Bar, to your question of the chocolate chip cookie, my premise for Milk Bar was a modern day Dairy Queen, like mashed together with the idea of a bakery. And my rules when I opened Milk Bar for myself and the 3 people that said, I'll help you out, Christina, was that everything that we did would be classic American baked goods. So cookie, cake, pie, ice cream. Those were the baseline formats. Everything had to fit into that because people know what a cookie is. People know what a cake is. People know what a pie is. People know what an ice cream is. But my rule was that nothing in that space that we would do would be something that existed. Because, Connor, to your point, I was like, the only way I'm going to survive as a bakery, you have to sell a lot of cookies to pay the rent or to pay your bills.
Right.
So why would someone choose your cookie over someone else's? Well, you have to give them a reason to come in and a reason to believe and a reason to be. And so we will never make an apple pie that looks like a classic American apple pie, but we will make a layer cake that has those, brown, buttery, flaky pie crumb notes, and it has gooey cinnamon apples as a center. And we're going to soak the cake with apple cider and cinnamon. So you get all of the notes and flavors and nostalgia and like mouth water, drooling nuance of apple pie. But rather than compete with everyone else that's selling apple pie, giving people a reason to want to come and try out your bakery. So I really like tensions. So aspirational and accessible is one of them. I'm a professionally trained pastry chef, but I want to make awesome desserts at a price point that are accessible to everyone. It's not a plated dessert that you have to go out to a fancy dinner. It's a $3 cookie, right? That sort of thing. But also in the sort of like mind meld, or kind of destroys your brain of like, wait, there's a cake that tastes just like an apple pie. Or in this case, we don't have just a chocolate chip cookie. We have a cornflake chocolate chip marshmallow cookie. We have something called a compost cookie. That's a chocolate chip cookie, but it also has pretzels and potato chips and ground coffee and butterscotch and oats. Things that are true for me as a baker when I'm always thinking like, I love a chocolate chip cookie. How do I up the ante on a chocolate chip cookie? What have we not thought about as bakers in chocolate chip cookie land? What is the differentiator that makes Milk Bar stand out? And part of that is also because I don't want to compete with everyone else that has just a chocolate chip cookie on the menu, no matter how good, even if it's first prize in the county fair. And then the other part of it for me is I believe in baked goods land. People have their favorite chocolate chip cookie. I bet you have your favorite chocolate chip cookie. You're not looking for a chocolate chip cookie to replace that chocolate chip cookie, right? My grandma makes the best oatmeal cookie. I don't really ever order an oatmeal cookie when I go to a bakery. I'm ordering something that's interesting or different, and things that I love are things that taste like that nostalgia, but don't compete with the nostalgia that already exists on my taste buds and in my heart and in my brain from a baked goods standpoint. So and that's interesting, Connor, because when you do a little bit of research on bakeries, guess what everyone's best-selling item is? It's a chocolate chip cookie, my friend.
Interesting.
Right? It's vanilla ice cream, but we don't sell vanilla ice cream at Milk Bar. We sell something called cereal milk, and it tastes like what's left in your bowl after you eat all the cereal out of it. So again, it's a flavor that everyone knows. It's a flavor that brings you back to like the breakfast table or, late nights or slumber parties or whatever it is, and we serve it as a soft serve ice cream. So we won't ever serve a vanilla soft serve, a vanilla flavored soft serve, but we could make an apple pie soft serve. We could make a chocolate chip cookie soft serve, but we won't give you the classic thing that exists everywhere else because we want to give you, we just believe in being additive to the conversation. And two, you're right, from a business sense standpoint, if you're on Shark Tank, right? Does the world need another retro bakery that sells the classics? I don't believe we do. I believe we need more businesses that have a perspective on something that we know and love and crave or need in our lives. Regularly from a bakery, people come to bakeries all the time. There's a high repeat or special occasion or whatever the cadence is of that use case.
I love what you said because it points out that even in kind of a commodified landscape like chocolate chip cookies, to your point, everyone's got a favorite. We've had hundreds, if not thousands over the years. You can still innovate. You can create those, interesting combinations or things that you never would have thought before. I love that. I also love how you mentioned that when you had this vision for Milk Bar, you decided that goal has certain prerequisites in your mind of what you needed to go do. You need to kind of earn your stripes and build your knowledge base, maybe your network along the way to kind of figure out how to then succeed. And so maybe talk about that for a minute. Why, in your world of entrepreneurship, why is goal setting a powerful concept for you? How have you seen the setting of goals enrich your entrepreneurial life?
I mean, goal setting is everything, Connor. If I don't have something on the horizon that I'm looking at, right? Like, how are you gonna, if you're playing basketball, if the net's not there, how do you even know you got a basket? How do you know you scored a point? If you don't have a goal line, a net, a basket, a point, if you don't have that, it's infinity in front of you, right? And so you need points that you're looking towards, however close or medium or far off, to help you understand where you've come from, where you're going, why you're going, at what speed, how are you going to get there? What resources are you going to put towards it? As an individual, that is incredibly important. important. And the second there is more than one of you, what it also gives you is shared language that you can start to express and talk about and agree upon and go after. And without that, it's a brilliant idea in your brain. But until you start to tease it out and give it some shape and parameter and then say, my first goal at Milk Bar, Connor, was to prove that Milk Bar could be a business. And to prove that Milk Bar could be a business, that looked like I could pay for my raw ingredients, which is my butter, my flour, my sugar, my salt. I could pay my employees. I could pay my rent. And I had some sort of money left over so that I could do it again the next month, right? It was to run a profitable business, but truly to prove that I was a real business, that it was that I could pay myself, right? That I would start to build these things up time and time. Am I charging the right price? Are we open the right hours? Do I have too many people working or too few people working? Is my butter too expensive? Should I be giving out spoons or wooden paddles, right? It helped me. Every decision I made along the way that first month was based upon, is this a real business? And in a real business, these are the things that I do, right? Again, like it helps funnel this big vision and this big dream into really digestible actions that you are thinking about day in and day out. Because as an entrepreneur, you're stacking up. It's one day at a time. You wake up, you do the thing. For me, I go home, I sit in bed and I go, did I leave it better than I found it? What did I succeed on? What do I want to do differently tomorrow? It's very much like a Sisyphean exercise where you're rolling the boulder up the hill every day and taking stock of how it went, what you're going to do differently tomorrow. You're going to go faster, or you're going to go slower, are you this or you that? But that the goal setting is what did that. Now, the beauty of business too is you're going to ideally reach your goals, right? Like your goals should be goals that you can get to. And then I sort of call it moving the goalpost, right? Like I wanted to prove that I was a business. And then once I proved that we were a real business because we were paying for our ingredients, paying ourselves and our team, paying for rent, having a little money left over, then I started saying, okay, great. Well, what if Milk Bar was more than just one bakery and it had 2 doors? What if we shipped these baked goods across the country? What if we, started selling, making these cakes in larger formats for weddings, et cetera, et cetera. But I started moving the goalpost, or the expression of what Milk Bar was started to become a little bit clearer, a little bit more defined. But those goals were important. And then to your point, the parameters of what a Milk Bar is: a quirky American style bakery. We sell cookies, cakes, pies, and ice cream, and we exist to make people happy with dessert. That is it. Now, the fine print is what we talked about of we'll never make just a chocolate chip cookie for these reasons. But to give us some sort of space of, what does our ecosystem look like? What will we do? What won't we do? And then leaves a lot of white space in between for then what we would be, what we can be, what we'd be willing to do. Now, for Milk Bar, we opened Milk Bar and we ended up not being able to pay the rent. It doesn't mean that it's the wrong business, Connor, right? It means that there's some white space. Ooh, so maybe Milk Bar shouldn't have a brick and mortar presence in New York City, because guess what? New York City rent is really expensive. Right. But they're talking about us on all the morning shows and we're all over social media. So maybe if we spent half of our rent in rent, and we just had a kitchen and we shipped our baked goods all over the place, right? It is not so linear. You give yourself white space within the goals and the parameters to say, ooh, what am I missing here? And what might I need to change and shift in order to hit my goals, as opposed to the mindset of there's only one way to achieve a goal. Because I think that's the other distinction that is an important one as you're really engaging your entrepreneurial spirit and going at it. You're gonna have a lot of ideas about what it can and should be and how you do what you do. And you have to leave yourself open to possibility along the way of how you're going to hit those short, medium, and long-term goals.
I love this concept of white space, the flexibility, the adaptation, because I think that a lot of kids, as they think about their future careers, whether it's traditional entrepreneurship as a business owner or going, to be employed by somebody else, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially in today's landscape, AI, robotics, automation, whatever. And if kids want to become an entrepreneur, maybe they're attracted by the freedom of it. Maybe it's the wealth. Maybe it's, whatever. They sometimes think that, well, I got to go to business school or I need an MBA or, I'm not hearing any of that from your own path. You did go to culinary school to get that very specific kind of industry niche talent set that you wanted. I'm also thinking of, I haven't read it and I can't remember the author's name. Maybe you know this person, but the book title that I've loved is Everything is Figure Outable. You ever heard of that book?
No, but thank you. If I could coin that phrase, that is the phrase of an entrepreneur. Everything is figure outable.
So talk about that in your own life. It sounds like you didn't go to business school. Kids listening today might be like, oh, before I become a business owner, I need to, what's that been like for you to just figure it out?
The thing that I'll say to anyone and everyone listening is your path is your path. There is no right path and there is no wrong path. It is your path. So you get to choose how many schools or programs or classes you go to or through. What I will say in a path, I think we think about a path as like it's very carved out, it's defined, there's a roadmap to it. There is no roadmap to your path. You get to make stops along the way and maybe, hit a few posts into the ground so that you are defining your path as you go. I don't think any path is a straight and narrow path. I think a path is curvy. I think that there are detours in path because everything that you do that you're drawn to that's going to enhance your mindset and your skill set as you figure it out, because everything is figure outable, you're gonna collect all those details and you're going to be applying them you're building the plane as you're flying the plane, to use that analogy. There is no right path and wrong path, which is to say you have to be really great at taking stock in yourself to say, what are the things that I need to feel solid or secure enough to start? And that could be working for someone else. That could be going to school. That could be going to 10 years of programs. It could also be going on and starting your own Shopify because you can figure out how to do it. And you know someone that has a commercial space where you can, make your savory food or bake your sweet good, or if you can figure it out without needing to complicate your path or your roadmap, start there. Simple is better. Life is going to get complicated as you get older, and business is going to get complicated as you build. So start as simple as possible and take stock of what you need in order to just start. Don't wait for it's perfect to start. Don't wait for things to be perfect until you start. The just start is the acknowledgement that my just start was moving to New York City and going to culinary school, right? I didn't just decide I was going to open a bakery after I had done all the rest of this stuff. That was all part of my path. So I think those are really important distinctions. There is no age that you have to be to start your first business or to start a business at all. There is no age to the younger and there is no age to the older.
Right.
You're never boxed out. I think it really is about the resources you have, the skill set you have, what you are able to do on your own to start, because you're going to learn so much along the way. You're going to learn so much along the way. We thought we were going to be open from 5 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning for our bakery. And we realized very quickly, people are coming in at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and they're staying until 2 o'clock at night. Most bakeries are open from, 7 or 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. latest, right? You're going to need to try everything on for size along the way. So make a map for yourself of what you think it looks like, but be willing and ready to take stock at every single turn to say, is this right? What are the details telling me? What am I learning? What's hard? What's easy? Where am I leaving opportunity? Where is there a bottleneck? That is a lot of it. I will say in any entrepreneurial way, I think no matter how many classes you take, no matter how educated you are, nothing will prepare you for your first day on the job. Right? So you can educate yourself and you can fortify your intellect, and you might have all the spreadsheets to run your business, but until you actually open the door, none of that matters. If anything, everyone learns a little differently, but I chose not to go to business school. I chose not to do that because I am willing to learn these things in the moment. That's how I'm going to learn. I know math. I'm good at math. I'm not afraid to figure it out. I'm not afraid to ask for help. I am not afraid to leverage resources and ask friends and. And that allowed me to get to the just starting line quicker. Other people work differently. There is no right way or wrong way to it. Maybe some people have, less strong of that skill set and really, really want and need that sort of backbone. Where I stopped along my path for culinary school, someone might stop on their path for economics or accounting or bookkeeping or inventory management. It's really about knowing what is right for you. And I think staying really plugged into your own like internal voice and feeling, there is a lot in you that will give you all the answers. How would you have the answers? It makes no sense that you would have the answers. You have a lot of the answers inside you if you really quiet the busy brain or the part of your brain that might be nervous or uncertain. If you quiet those things down, that roadmap, you have it and you're the only one that has it and it belongs to you. And getting really good at plugging into that part of yourself is, I think, vital in telling you, what should I be doing? What shouldn't I be doing? What do I do? What don't I do? The more advice you ask for, the more noise you'll have in your brain, right? Everyone does it differently and every way belongs uniquely to that person. There is no smoking gun. There is no shoe-in. There is no absolute if you take X, Y, and Z classes, if you work at, A, B, and C places or what have you. There is no guarantee for success, but in the best way possible, that means everything is yours for the taking as an entrepreneur.
I love it. So many good ideas. Guys, everyone check out Milk Bar. She's on TV. She's got cookbooks. One thing I love about, like, you start with one thing and then it opens up all these adjacent opportunities as well to build the brand and reach more people and have more success. So lots of good ideas shared. Christina, thank you very much for joining us today on How I Started.
Thanks, Connor. Good luck, everyone. I'm rooting for you.